Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. Welcome to Transfer, your home of Aston Villa's transfer news, links, rumours, noise, murmurings, incomings, outgoings, and possible reunions. If you are new to our channel, make sure you are subscribing. We are close to 27k, which is absolutely mad. So help us get over the line. Make sure you are hitting that like button and comment your thoughts. I imagine this is going to go off in the comment section. Matty Cash. Right. What have we got? Matty Cash. Nottingham Forest exploring possible deal for Aston Villa's Matty Cash. Nottingham Forest are exploring a deal to re-sign Aston Villa right back Matty Cash. The 28-year-old is among Forest options as they look to strengthen the right side of defence. The club have also been pursuing a deal for Manchester City's Rico Lewis. Villa have not received a formal approach with the defender's current contract, which he signed in April 2022, running until 2027. There have been discussions over extending his stay in recent months. Right, let's get into this one then. I'm going to be really honest, like I always am, guys. And I don't 100% necessarily get all of the hate for Matty Cash. I think he's a hard-working, good player. Now, whether that is enough for Villa and whether that's enough for Villa to reach certain levels that's out there. It's few and far between the distance. Maybe so. But he's actually not as bad as what I think a lot of people make out. Yes, he can be rash. He can make the odd mistake. But he does have good games. And I think he's pretty decent. Now, I know a lot of people might be screaming at their phone or the laptop or the iPad or the TV, but he's all right. Do we need an upgrade? Of course we do. Do we need a right back? Of course we do. But he's not actually like outright terrible. I just don't think he's that bad. And I remember last year and he had a good game and I remember putting something out there on X and it was like I got hammered for it. And sometimes, I think it's one of those where if you don't rate the player, that's okay. But when he has a good game, it's still okay to mention him and say that he's had a good game. I think he's a bit of a scapegoat at times. That he's one of those players where he's easy to blame. He's easy to blame, and I think sometimes when things don't go well, it's too easy to sometimes point fingers and go, "Oh, it's his Matty Cash's fault. It's his fault." When sometimes it's not all his fault. I mean, take it at the weekend. He did a bad cross, but there's still things that can happen in there that can stop that goal from going in. Constance doesn't have to pull him down and etc. and this and that and different scenarios. And yes, he had a bad game against Manchester United and passed it back to Martinez and all this business, and he cuts back a lot. And I don't actually think all that cutting back is on Matty Cash either. I think sometimes, if the cutting back was that much of a problem, then Unai Emery would tell him to stop doing it. But the fact that he cuts back a lot tells me that Unai Emery tells him and asks for him to cut back a lot because he cuts back, he retains possession, we're able to recycle possession and go again. If that was all on Matty Cash, that would have been ingrained out of his game by now. So the general gist of what I'm trying to say is that I actually don't really dislike him. Do I think we need to upgrade? Yes, but the stick he gets, I don't think it's fair a lot of the time. So that's just my honest opinion. If you disagree, that's absolutely fine. But that's how I feel about the situation. And I also feel that there is probably not a lot in this story, and that this is Matty Cash's agent putting his name out there to another club, probably an easy destination that he will get a deal pretty quickly at Aston Villa. The terms will be decent. I don't imagine he's. Let's just have a quick little look. I don't imagine he's a massive, massive earner at Aston Villa. So let's just quickly go on our trusted source and have a look at Aston Villa's wages, and we'll see what Matty Cash is on. Should we have a guess? I reckon Matty Cash is probably on 80k a week. That's what I imagine he's on. So is this deal, can it be improved? Can his wages come down? And Matty Cash is on 80k a week. So we can see that here. And I haven't seen this before I came on, but Matty Cash there is on 80k a week. So he's on quite a lot, to be honest. But when you're looking at the grand scheme of it, there's a lot of players in here that are ahead of what Matty Cash is on. Kamara, Martinez, Marlon. I mean, if that's true about Marlon, right, he has got to start playing some football matches. He has got to start playing. So if that deal gets and those wages somehow come down slightly, we do look like we're in the market for a defender, Canvo. We actively looking like we're in the market, but again, not really many out and out right back links this window. And again, when I do these transfer episodes, it's good to read into patterns. It's good to read into positions that we're looking to strengthen in, and there's not really been many right backs. So that would suggest to me that Emery's pretty okay with Matty Cash still being at Aston Villa. And I get everybody's frustrations with right back. I get that we get exposed down that right-hand side most games as well. But I think that's not all on Cash. That's on the right-sided winger that plays out wide as well. That's on the midfielders covering and protecting that right-hand side. So as a collective, you have to do better there. You'll never rarely ever see me if any of you watch my tactical debriefs, you will never, ever really rarely see me blame one player. When have you ever really seen me go mad about a specific player and hammer that individual player or go in on them? So that's just not my style. I try and look at the way in which the goals are going in, etc. But for me, I think he's a decent player, and I think eventually, yes, I would like to see someone come in that can elevate us in that position. But I think being realistic right now, I don't really see that player coming in. I think we probably are going to sign a central right-sided defender, and then we'll have options out there to move someone and become a little bit more hybrid, maybe 3 centre halves, etc. So I think that's just where I'm at. I'm not going to come on here and say sell, don't rate him, think he's rubbish and all this business, because I don't think he's that bad. And, it's just my thoughts. I do think we do need to improve, but I think he's not as bad as what gets made out. I think defensively, he's okay. Going forward, I would like to see him a little bit better. We do see moments where, he'll do something random on his right foot, get it onto his weaker foot and put in an absolute beauty. So, yeah, okay. And then on the other hand, Jackson up top, I do feel like that's getting a bit of momentum. That's getting a bit of attention now. We're now hearing from Ben Jacobs saying that an obligation could do it, could get him. And then I think Unai reunited with Jackson. That partnership, that combo, I think could work. And also we've seen today that Bailey has gone to Roma. So those are my honest thoughts. I think Cash gets a new deal. Hopefully it's on reduced terms, maybe. That would be good for SCR. So those are my thoughts on Cash. Let me know your thoughts, and it'll be interesting to have a read through on what you think of Matty Cash to Nottingham Forest up the Villa.